All right, party people. So we're going to do something new outside. We're going to be recording outside today to try to get some sunlight. I don't like this, but let's see how this goes. All right, testing. I think you can hear me. How's it going, party people? It's Caravan Dan from Gaming Caravan. Today we're going to be talking about a little thing for publishers. If you don't know, I work a lot with publishers. I worked with CGE, DeVere. I also worked with very small publishers launching their first game, really all sizes, and I've helped them players hands and eyes on their new products, whether they're upcoming products, whether they're trying to release or get rid of old backlogged items. That's what I'm good at. I do that by hosting board game events in Central Florida for board gamers. We get over 150 people every single month, and that's not including our conventions we do. And now we run about 4 conventions a year, and we're just growing and growing, thank God. And that's a wasp. Okay. Anyways, one thing I don't see covered whatsoever is how do you calculate what your goal should be for your board game on Kickstarter. Now, regardless if you're in the board game industry, this will work for you, but I frame it for my audience, which are board game publishers and board game enthusiasts who are just interested in the topic. So I made a very simple formula, which I'll show at the end of the video, and a very easy step-by-step on how to find your board game Kickstarter crowdfund goal. Without further ado, let's get started. Step 1 is just make the item. The reason why you got to make the item is you have to find out what the costs are involved with making the item. You'll find out you're going to need 20 tokens in your board game, 50 cards, a box that's 8 inches by 8 inches by 3 inches, a rulebook with 4 pages. These assets, blah, blah, blah. So by making your game, you're going to be spending some money. That's how it takes money to make money. If you don't know, these are called sunk costs, meaning by the time the game's coming out and being developed, the money and time in development was already sunk into the product. Sunk costs. It's just costs you've already put into the game, regardless of how much it costs per item. This could include art assets. This could include board game convention appearances. This could include paying playtesters, paying anyone to help you create your game. And make sure to track all the money you're spending on this if you want to do this as a business. If you want to do it as a hobby, you don't have to be so rigid, but if you want to do this business, make sure to track every single cent and dollar and dime you spent into making this game. The AC just kicked on, so I'm hoping I can filter this out. I'm sorry if not. By the end of step 1, we're assuming you have a fully finished product, board game ready for Kickstarter, ready to be launched on a crowdfunding campaign, which is why at step 2 we're going to have ask manufacturers. You're going to want to talk about to at least 10 manufacturers, tell them exactly what you're going to need in your game, and find out exactly what it costs for them to make every single piece and for each quantity. If you don't know, they have MOQs, minimum order quantities, of usually 1,000. At the very least I've seen it's 500, unless you're paying for custom items, which will cost like $100 for each one. But yes, find out their MOQs, find out how much the breakdown is going to be. They might say for those 100 tokens you need in your game, it could cost them it will cost 1 cent per token, meaning all tokens will be $1. Or if you order 2,000 units instead of 1,000, it will be half a cent. So it's actually going to cost you 50 cents instead of $1. Meaning the more you order, the more of a discount that you receive. So find out manufacturing prices, find out exactly where your range you want to be, and select a tier and select a manufacturer that works for you. You want someone that will reply to you within 2 days. If they take longer than 2 days to reply, they're just wasting your time. You want someone that's going to be back and forth with you, because you're going to have to be back and forth throughout the entire development process, but that's neither here nor there. We're just talking about calculating your prices. So you have the game, you have a quote from a manufacturer that you like that's going to make it for you, and they're going to say, hey, so if you need $5,000, I will make 1,000 copies of your game. That means that your cost from the manufacturer is $5 per game. Don't forget to also ask shipping prices, because the shipping prices can vary for each company depending on their connections, depending on how they label your games and such. So make sure you also find out how much the shipping price would be for that entire unit. If you give them, make sure to give them your address and all that fun stuff. And for the love of God, they'll give you a number. Make sure to ask, are there any secret costs? Does it cost? Are there any tooling costs? Are there any printer setup, startup costs? There are a bunch of little costs involved with some of these corporations. You're definitely going to want to ask every single thing, like, hey, are there any extra costs outside of this initial cost you gave me that I'm going to need to pay? And they're going to be like, well, actually, yeah, you need to pay A, B, and C, which you're going to want to add that all up. Number 3, this one's personal. Consider your salary. This is because you're going to want to find out, do you want to pay yourself? How much money are you expecting to get from this game? How much time has it taken you? If you're trying to do this full time, you're going to need to find out how long you've been making the game for and how long you're planning on selling the game, how much you think the game's going to get you. Just know exactly what you want to make from this for yourself. If the game's going to cost you, let's say they say $10,000, and you want to pay yourself $10,000, you know your goal has to be at least $20,000. So consider your salary, if any. Now, this fourth one's calculate shipping. There's a few different ways you can do it. I'm going to do a whole video based on stuff like this, but calculate shipping prices. And the reason why is because for crowdfunding campaigns, they include the money given for shipping into money given towards a Kickstarter. So you definitely want to calculate how much this is going to be. You're going to need to find out how many copies of the game you're planning on selling. To do so, there's a few steps involved. The easiest way to do this is you're going to want to take the cost of manufacturing multiplied by 1.25 divided by the cost of your game multiplied by 5. The reason for this is because you're going to need to sell each one of your games for at least 5 times your cost, 4 or 5 times. You'll see why after that you're going to need to find out the box that you're going to ship your game in. You're going to need to find out the measurements and find random addresses across America and then calculate that in. See what the quoted shipping price is. Find a good average. If one game's gonna cost you $8 to ship, another game's gonna cost you $12 to ship, you do that 10 times in a row, you're gonna find an average of about $10 per game. So you're gonna need to multiply that amount of games by the mean shipping to get how much of a shipping cost you're expecting. The last step of this is simple, just add 20% on whatever your shipping estimate is, and you'll see why in the next step. Now to do the overall estimate for how much your Kickstarter goal needs to be, it's going to be the tariff price multiplied by the manufacturing estimate, added by shipping, add sunk costs, add your salary, multiplied by 1.25. And let's say I'm not going to calculate my sunk cost and salary, which many board game publishers don't worry about because, as you can see, it's going to get very pricey very quickly. And why would you multiply by 1.25? Because you need to buffer yourself by 25% of the costs. Kickstarter's going to take about 5% of your overall goal, and then there's going to be processing fees for Kickstarter for another 5% of your overall Kickstarter goal, meaning they're going to take at least around 10% of your overall Kickstarter goal. So let's say you needed to make the $14,000, you set that as your goal, you get exactly $14,000. They're going to give you $12,600. Now you're negative $1,400, which is a horrible place to be in for ending your first game, especially after raising that much money. So as you can tell, a lot of publishers don't consider their sunk costs, they don't consider salary, they just aim to make money off the game, and as long as the game doesn't go negative, it's a good place to be in. Typically, this is because you're going to order 1,000 units of the game, you're going to sell about 2, maybe 300 units of the game, so you're going to have 700 to sell after the Kickstarter ends, and that will be how you make your money. You're going to get some income off that, you're going to have to attend shows, you're going to have, network with other board gaming locations, network with people like me who are willing to sell your game, go to consignment locations, all that fun stuff to sell your game. And the more titles you have, the easier it is to make sales because you have one for everyone. You can do bundles. You can sell your last game on your next Kickstarter and all that kind of stuff. So many times people don't consider the sunk cost, they don't consider their salary. But sometimes people like me, I will not release a Kickstarter if I cannot make money off it because this is my full-time job. I need to eat. I need to be able to pay my bills. So if I'm not able to make some money off a Kickstarter, it's not worth my time, even if it means I can have an extra 400, 500 copies sent around. So in a short, we have make the item, and then find out how much it costs to make. 2, ask manufacturers how much it's going to cost them to make with their minimum order quantity. 3, consider if you want to pay yourself. 4, calculate your shipping, and then do the equation, which is the tariff multiplied by the manufacturing price, added your overall shipping estimate, and then plus sunk costs if you have them, plus salary if you're expecting that, multiplied by 1.25. I hope this makes sense. I hope this helps you. If you need any other assistance for publishing a game, if you need marketing help, that's really where I come in handy. But I do know the industry, and I could get you on a decent guideline, maybe get you a good mentor that can help you answer some more questions. But that's just about everything I have for today. Thanks for watching. Thank you for being part of the community. If you aren't yet, make sure to subscribe to find out more indie games coming out. Make sure more big box games are coming out. Find out more publishing tips and advice. And just everything board game centric. I'm Caravan Dan from Gaming Caravan. Peace, have a great day. God bless. And I hope to see you at the table soon.